He was a healer, a beacon of hope in the quiet English town of Hyde. Dr. Harold Shipman, with his gentle demeanor and reassuring smile, was the epitome of a trusted physician. His patients, many of them elderly and alone, welcomed him into their homes without a second thought. Little did they know, behind the facade of a caring doctor lurked a sinister secret. Dr. Shipman was not who he seemed. He was, in fact, one of history's most prolific serial killers, hiding in plain sight. The duality of his existence is almost beyond comprehension. How could someone sworn to preserve life be responsible for taking so many? How could a man who dedicated his life to alleviating suffering inflict unimaginable pain on his unsuspecting victims? The story of Dr. Harold Shipman is a chilling reminder that evil often wears the most innocuous masks. His victims were often the most vulnerable members of society, elderly, frail, and alone. These individuals, already facing the twilight of their lives, were easy targets for someone who was supposed to be their protector. They placed their trust in him, believing implicitly in his oath to do no harm. The doctor-patient relationship is built on trust, and Shipman exploited this to the fullest. But Dr. Shipman preyed on their vulnerability, using his medical expertise to end their lives instead of saving them. His actions were a gross betrayal of the trust placed in him by his patients and their families. His weapon of choice was diamorphine, a powerful opioid commonly known as heroin. This drug, while used medically for pain relief, became a tool of death in Shipman's hands. He administered lethal doses, often in the comfort of their own homes, masking his sinister acts as routine house calls. These visits, which should have been a source of comfort, became the setting for his heinous crimes. His method was chillingly efficient. He knew exactly how much of the drug to administer to ensure death without arousing suspicion. He forged medical records, making it appear as though his victims died from natural causes. This meticulous attention to detail allowed him to cover his tracks and continue his killing spree. He manipulated families, convincing them that their loved ones were nearing the end and that his actions were acts of mercy. His ability to lie convincingly made it difficult for anyone to suspect foul play. His calculated approach allowed him to operate undetected for years, his dark secret hidden beneath a veneer of respectability. He was seen as a pillar of the community, a trusted and respected physician. He carefully cultivated his image as a caring physician. Awards and recognitions only bolstered his facade, making it even harder for anyone to believe he was capable of such atrocities. He made house calls at all hours, seemingly going above and beyond for his patients. These late-night visits were seen as a testament to his dedication, but they were often when he committed his crimes. He offered comfort and reassurance, all the while plotting their demise. His calm demeanor and soothing words masked his true intentions. The trust he built with his patients was his most powerful weapon, allowing him to operate with impunity, his true nature concealed behind a mask of compassion. This trust was not easily earned, but once it was, it provided him with the perfect cover for his malevolent deeds. The medical profession holds a unique and revered position in society. Doctors are often seen as the guardians of our health, the ones we turn to in our most vulnerable moments. They are privy to our most intimate secrets, our deepest fears, and our greatest vulnerabilities. We place an immense amount of trust in them, believing that they will always act in our best interests. We trust them with our lives and the lives of our loved ones, often without a second thought. This trust is the cornerstone of the doctor-patient relationship. However, Dr. Shipman exploited this trust in the most egregious way possible. He used his esteemed position as a shield to deflect any suspicion that might arise. Moving through the community with an air of authority, his pronouncements were rarely questioned. He was seen as an infallible figure, a man whose words carried weight and whose actions were beyond reproach. Who were they to question a man of his stature, a man who had seemingly dedicated his life to healing others? His colleagues respected him immensely, his patients adored him and trusted him implicitly. He was seen as a pillar of the community, a man of impeccable character and unwavering dedication. This perception made him appear untouchable, a figure above any suspicion. This carefully crafted image of integrity and dedication made it nearly impossible for anyone to believe he could do any wrong. It was this very perception that allowed him to continue his crimes undetected for so long. His heinous crimes, hidden in plain sight, went unnoticed for years. He was a master manipulator, using his charm and intellect to deflect any hint of suspicion that might come his way. He was adept at using his warm demeanor and professional knowledge to put people at ease. making it difficult for anyone to question his actions or motives. Even when questions did arise, they were quickly dismissed. After all, this was Dr. Shipman, a man who had dedicated his life to his patients. The very idea that he could be capable of such heinous acts seemed unfathomable to those who knew him. His reputation and the trust he had built over the years served as a powerful shield, protecting him from scrutiny and allowing him to continue his nefarious activities. When the truth finally came to light, the community was left in a state of shock and disbelief. The very idea that someone they had trusted so implicitly could betray them in such a profound way was almost too much to bear. Dr. Shipman was a wolf in sheep's clothing, a predator hiding in plain sight. He was protected by the very people he was sworn to serve, using their trust as a cloak to conceal his true nature. The first cracks in Dr. Shipman's carefully constructed facade appeared in 1998. It was a year that would mark the beginning of the end for the seemingly benevolent doctor. Dr. Linda Reynolds, a local physician, noticed a disturbing trend among Dr. Shipman's deceased patients. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. An unusually high number had died at home, and many of the death certificates seemed suspicious. The causes of death listed were often vague or inconsistent with the patient's medical histories. Driven by a deep sense of unease, Dr. Reynolds reported her concerns to the police. She knew that raising such an alarm could have serious repercussions, but her conscience wouldn't allow her to stay silent. Her actions were a testament to her courage and her unwavering commitment to her oath. She believed that every patient deserved justice, and she was willing to fight for it. She refused to ignore the nagging doubts that plagued her, even if it meant challenging a respected colleague. The weight of her suspicions was heavy, but her resolve was stronger. Her concerns were initially met with skepticism. The police found it hard to believe that a doctor, someone who had taken an oath to save lives, could be responsible for such heinous acts. Could this well-respected doctor, this pillar of the community, truly be responsible for the deaths of his patients? Dr. Shipman had built a reputation as a caring and dedicated physician. The police, faced with a seemingly preposterous accusation, were hesitant to act. They needed more concrete evidence before they could take any definitive steps. After all, accusing a doctor, especially one as esteemed as Dr. Shipman, could have far-reaching consequences. It could shake the very foundation of trust between the community and the medical profession. But Dr. Reynolds persisted, her determination fueled by the belief that something was terribly wrong. She continued to gather evidence, hoping to build a case that the authorities couldn't ignore. She knew, deep in her gut, that the truth had to be uncovered. The lives of countless patients depended on it, and she couldn't let them down. The lives of countless patients depended on it. Each day that passed without action was another day that more lives could be at risk. Her unwavering belief in her convictions would eventually lead to the exposure of one of the most shocking medical scandals in history. The truth, once revealed, would send shockwaves through the medical community and beyond. The world would soon learn that the kindly Dr. Shipman was not a healer, but a monster hiding in plain sight. His facade of compassion and care was nothing more than a mask for his sinister deeds.